Hello, my name is Marissa Ruiz, and I am presenting the article Causal Effect of Intergroup Contact on Exclusionary Attitudes by Raya D. Enos from 2010. So, the main topic that this article or this study covers is how political and technological changes are affecting population movements and directly affecting um, social demographics as well. So we are seeing shifting demographics in an increasingly important issue. Intergroup contact is becoming a vexing problem in identity politics, of which is the reason that this study was necessary because it covers such a gray area of social sciences. Social experiments lack the condition of repeated interpersonal contact. Uh, this means that it's really hard to simulate the kind of conditions that would be necessary to get accurate, conclusive results. So we are trying to figure out how demographic heterogeneity will react to the arrival of immigrants of an out group to their, otherwise small Anglo town. So Enos asked three questions to his the people in his experiment. So in order to find out if immigration is leading to exclusionary behaviors, he asks if they think the number of immigrants from Mexico who are permitted to come to the US to live should be increased, left the same, or decreased, if they would favor allowing persons that have immigrated to the US to remain in the country if they are employed and have no criminal history, and if they would oppose or favor a law that declares English as the national language, or as the official language, sorry. So the materials used, he recruited 6 men and 1 woman Confederates with GPS devices. They're Mexican nationals on US visas, ages 21 to 29 with some college education. The methods used, they would take this study group and they would send them to different transit stations in the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority from July to August 2012, specifically in low density neighborhoods with anywhere from 10 to 100 riders. All the riders in the community tended to be Anglo, as a pretty heterogeneous population. So an influx of immigrants would probably be noticed. In these areas, there were less than 10% Hispanic. So another thing that they were trying to, study the.
This experiment is unique in that it's a natural experiment. Variation in contact can be seen as if random, and the contact between group members is repeated. Um, this method is not the most reliable. Previous uh, variations of this have been done, i.e., college roommates of different races. Um, However, that is pretty small scale compared to immigration in a city. Another thing that this study discovers, or not discovers, explores is the idea of group threat, which concludes that it's not elite manipulation, it's not economic or political or social pressure that's causing the conflict. The only thing that's necessary to start conflict in these areas is proximity and presence of an outgroup. That's all it takes to activate negative stereotypes and begin exclusionary attitudes. So the results of the experiment were very helpful. After 3 days, questions to the answers that Enos asked his research participants demonstrated a shift in conservative ideology in that area. But after 10 days, when asked the same questions, um, those ideologies began to shift the other way. So while group threat is very present in the first few days of interaction among different ethnic groups, in homogeneous areas or heterogeneous areas, it is likely that given more time and exposure to one another, those attitudes are predicted to go away. So, in the discussion, there were 5 conclusions. Exclusionary attitudes may be prompted by non invasive demographic change. Intergroup conflict is correlated with demographic heterogeneity. Political/economic competition is not a necessary component. Regions predicted to become more diverse should anticipate initial conflict at first. If intergroup harmony is the goal, then further public policy focus should be given to interpersonal contact and incorporation. As for the context of how this applies to governing American cities, um, this information will be very useful in remedying the effects of gentrification. The patterns of racial segregation reflect the desires of white residents. So we have these areas that are less than 10% Hispanic, and that is a result of gentrification. So if we want to go about solving these inequalities, the study is a really good place to start to learn how changes will impact the system. Is it going to be a positive or negative feedback loop? Technology, transit-oriented development can be useful when planning for smart growth, sustainable development, sustainable cities. I like that this study used mass transit as a means of integrating the outgroup into the community. Newcomers are important for the revival of the economy. So, if transit oriented development were the primary way, uh, this experiment would be more accurate than um, a lot of others would be. Globalization, changing face of suburbia as a result of new immigration and new urbanism, problems of outgroups interacting with one another, of intergroup conflict are going to become more and more pronounced as we've seen this last year and as we will continue to see in these next few years. But figuring out the most effective way to mix these different ethnic groups together and create a more globalized community um, is going to be a very big part of social policy, public policy, economic policy in the next few decades. So this is a good starting point. Thank you, and Professor Lewis. Sorry I'm turning this in so late. I hope you accept it. I did my best. Thank you.